Down to Biscayne.
Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Bucker said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got an all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Guess what time it is? Another Heat post-game show. Another Heat home post-game show. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Welcome to 5 on the Floor. Tonight's floor plan, Digital Adel and I are going to unpack it's becoming Groundhog Day. Another Miami Heat loss at home. It was kind of wall-to-wall. The Clippers just outclassed Miami. 119-104 was the final score. We will get into the game. It's been rough. Want to quickly shout out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. That's where fans are coping with this, talking with other Heat fans, looking ahead to the draft, looking ahead to free agency, maybe talking a little bit about how the hell they're going to get out of this mess right now in the here and now. But all the Heat talk is happening right on Off the Floor. Use the link in this description. $2.99 a month. Pass the Apple upcharge by using the link in the description. Off the Floor. Check it out for the most heat anywhere. So, Adele, I don't really know where to start. When Major and I did the last post-game pod, we were as melancholy as two people can be.
Right.
Because the Heat had blown another lead, and Charlotte is like bottom feeder. You feel a little bit better about a game against the Clippers where they're, 5 to 6 games, somewhere around there. That's where they've been averaging above 500 throughout the year. So, they're a competitive team in the West, but they're on the second night of a back-to-back. They lost to New Orleans, who's awful, in their last game. The Heat, obviously, is not on the second night of a back-to-back. They're at home. They need a win in the worst way. They need something to turn around what has been just a tumultuous stretch that's just sucked the life out of this group. Not only are they blowing leads tonight, they just look like, they were slow on rotations. They were, the body language shifted tonight. I felt like the energy was off tonight. There were moments, and we're going to get to the highlighted moments because there were a few tonight that I want to call out. Guys that you can see are trying to figure out something in this rotation. But Adele, your initial thoughts on tonight's game. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, the play of the night, player of the game, defending the house, all that fun stuff. But considering the losing streak, considering the way that the Heat are careening towards the lottery, which I know that we could do a whole separate episode. Maybe we should just hijack this post-game show and do a draft pod. No. Your thoughts on Clippers Heat and what ultimately was another game that the Heat came up short and they just weren't good enough.
That's the thing. Just not good enough. Listless, adrift, a rudderless ship is basically what it is. And they need a leading man in the biggest way. And that's what Jimmy Butler gave you when he was here and he was trying. And now that he's gone, Wiggins is a nice piece. He helps winning teams. He does winning things, but he's not your leading man. The one thing, even Tyler, he kind of broke his ceiling this season. He's shown that he's not your leading man either. And so the Miami Heat at this point, they are what they are. The Clippers had an 18-point lead at one time, and it never really felt close, even though there were moments where it was like an 8-point game or a 9-point game at times. And it just isn't good enough. The team doesn't have enough consistency. They don't finish quarters well. I like Kello Ware as far as exceeding my expectations of what I thought he was going to be. But on a night like tonight, you have Ware, you have Bam, and Zubac absolutely cooks you. 13 rebounds for Zubac. I mean, 20, what was it? 28 points. And what was it? Let me pull that up right now.
26 points.
26
points.
points.
Rebounds he finished with.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely destroyed you down low. And you have Ware, you got Bam. You're supposed to solve that. Just not good enough is the perfect way to phrase it, Greg.
There's a couple things to talk about there. One, Khalil Ware played 18 minutes, and this was a game where the big old veteran big man was just going to take advantage of the rook, and that's what happened. They tried to go to different lineups. There were a little bit of Jaquez minutes, but not a ton. I mean, he plays 6 minutes. Jaime Jaquez is basically out of the rotation at this point.
Yep.
Another weird one before we get to our first segment, we'll get to the player of the game. We'll talk a little bit about who was good for the Heat, but there's some guys that are, obviously deserving on the Clippers side, but we're going to stick to the Heat for the most part. Davion Mitchell playing 17 minutes is weird. I don't know what's going on there. This has been a couple times now where it's Davion not playing as many minutes as I would expect him to, or as many as Spo trusted him to right when they first inserted him into the starting lineup. I'm wondering if he's laboring from an injury we don't know about, because 17 minutes when he finished with only one personal foul, that's something weird there. Like they need he had a play early in the game that we're not going to use for any of the segments that I'll just mention now, where he scored a quick bucket, immediately got a steal, or made a three, and then immediately got a steal, scored another quick layup. It was a 5-point quick, he did it like Reggie Miller style, 8 seconds or less. And they need more of that kind of energy. And so it's weird. I think that they are in the funk of all funks. Every head coach, they all look flabbergasted on the sideline. And so this is just like a common thread where they're not only not good enough, but now it's like they know it. And that is another level of how you finish a season, how you finish games. To Adel's point earlier, how you finish quarters, how you finish possessions. All of that changes. Your disposition changes when you feel like it's slipping away. And that's just what it feels like so far. We'll get to our first segment, the A Aggressive Insurance by Lynette Player of the Night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So I'm going to save the Clippers guys for the defending the house segment, because we're going to really unpack how the Heat did not defend the Clippers well tonight. But on the Heat side, Tyler Hero in 41 minutes, 31 points, 13 of 23 from the field, 3 of 3 from the line, 2 of 7 from 3. 6 rebounds, 7 assists, only 1 turnover, a couple of steals. It begs the question, Tyler plays this well, and it doesn't translate. And I think that's a bigger picture topic, Adele, but I do think this is informative. Like, we are gathering data that will inform future decision-making. And when you look at, like you mentioned, Andrew Wiggins helps winning teams. It's a little bit weird when you're miscast in a situation here. Bam Adebayo tonight, there's just no excuse. 6 points, 7 field goal attempts. He had 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals. He's going to always do the other things. We are at a point where Bam cannot have 7 field goal attempts. There were 3 guys off the bench that took more field goal attempts, one being Terry Rozier, than Bam Adebayo did in 35 minutes. It's just weird. And again, I think that is mental as well. But what do you make of Tyler's night? What do you make of Wiggs' night? And anything else on the offensive end for Miami as we kind of just recap that side of the ball in this segment?
you mentioned Terry Rozier took more shots than Bam Adebayo, and he did it in only 16 minutes. That's wild. Bam, over the past couple of weeks, has been doing whatever he wanted in the paint. Whenever you get those middle screens, you get the mid-post touches, get some of those low block touches, he was doing whatever he wanted to whoever was guarding him. It's just mind-boggling and baffling to me that he was not involved in this game. And Tyler, for as well as he played, I want to preface this. He played 42 minutes out of the possible 48 minutes, right? 42 minutes. He took 23 field goal attempts to get his 31 points.
Mm-hmm.
So your numbers are going to appear good whenever you get that kind of usage and you take those volume of shots. I like Tyler. I think he did a great job. He played well, but it doesn't translate to winning when it's not bringing others along with you. They're the empty calorie assists, 7 assists is great, but you're not really making life easier for everybody. The defense isn't solely focused on stopping you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference, like what Jimmy does, superstars do. And when it comes to Bam, Bam is aggressive. He's talking to officials. He's still playing really hard. I don't know why his teammates weren't involving him in this game. That is the most baffling part. Just his teammates aren't even looking for him. It's baffling. That's the only word I can come up with. It's baffling.
Yeah, they're in their head, and this is like it's now we're moving to a territory where what we talked about is the mental hurdle for the Miami Heat was basically this losing leads situation that, like, as leads started to slip, they would start to be like, oh shit, here it goes again.
Right.
Well, tonight was a different vibe. Tonight was like a wall to wall. You just weren't gonna beat this team. And that's a weird feeling. Like, you're moving from being just less competitive. And with Boston coming up, and we're not going to talk about the Boston game tonight, we're not going to make this any worse. It's just a weird stretch where it doesn't look like there's a win in sight in the near future. And so that starts to get tricky when you think about trying to stay in any relative healthy position for the play-in. There is no healthy position, but you know what I mean. The Heat are always trying to get as high up in the seeding as possible. It may be a situation where they can't avoid basically tanking. And it's not that they're tanking by virtue of not trying. They're just not good enough to get wins. And that's just where we are. Let's get to the X-ray of the play of the day, because there was one part of this game and one player in this game who actually played almost all of his minutes like he gave a shit. And we're going to give him a shout out in the next segment.
And now it's time for the X-ray of the play of the day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
So, Pelle Larsson, he came to play tonight. If there was anyone off the bench, Duncan had a good game offensively, but I felt like Larsson switched up the energy. We identified a moment early in the game where he had a play. You'll articulate it better than me, Adel. Why don't you serve it up for him?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the second quarter at the 7:51 mark, Pelle Larsson is in the game and he is hustling his butt off, defending his butt off. He gets a steal. There's a loose ball. He dives on the floor, gets the loose ball. He tries to get it to a teammate. They fumble it. It gets back to the Clippers. He steals the ball back off of one of the Clippers guys, just outright, literally full diving head first on the ground twice to make all of that happen. And that was like, Heat culture to the fullest, all floor burn team. And that's when the momentum kind of switched, because to that point, it's been all Clippers to that point. They've been doing whatever they wanted. Like I said, they had like an 18-point lead at one point. And after that happened, you started to see the light come on. His teammates started playing harder. They all kind of rallied around that energy. Now, they weren't able to sustain it for a full game, but that's what I think really sparked the turnaround in the run for the Miami Heat.
Yeah, and the reason why we're bringing up that play is that we need more players on the team to like kind of symbolize that same mentality and go out there and play kind of like you got something to prove. Because right now, for a team that has so much influx and so much doubt and so much turmoil throughout the entire season, you would think some of these guys would just be on prove it missions to some degree. And he was the one guy tonight that brought that. So I wanted to highlight him in this segment. There's not really a ton great that happened for the Heat tonight, if we're just being dead ass honest. But seeing Larson continue to develop, I hope he continues to get minutes because they need at least a player that plays physical, a player that is not going to shy away from contact, from getting in scrums, as you mentioned, diving for loose balls. Like, they just need more of that energy. So shout out to the Swedish sensation, Pelle Larsson, the Rook. Let's go on right to our next segment. We'll get to defending the house. This is going to be ugly.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Nobody defended the house.
Not a soul.
Check this out. So Zubac, 26 and 14, we referenced earlier. James Harden, second night of a back-to-back. He played big minutes in the New Orleans game that they played last night. 24, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. He didn't shoot well. I mean, he was 6 of 20, 3 of 8 from the field, got to the free throw line 13 times, 3 turnovers. It was just a game where he wasn't even relatively efficient, but because of his playmaking, they couldn't really stop him from at least getting buckets for guys like the big man, guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic, 30 and 10. He shot a lot better from the field. He was 11 of 16. They could not stop him. He always plays good against the Heat, it feels like. Overarching theme here is the Heat did not play good enough defense. They continue to get outplayed in fourth quarters. Tonight, it was 27-20. Another key metric that I wanted to hone in on is that the Clippers almost shot 60. They shot 59.2% from the field. 60%. I'm rounding up because I'm pissed that I had to watch this. 48% from 3. So this was a game where there was just no defense played by Miami. Is it effort? So we'll close here because we're not going to go longer than this. Right. I said we'd keep it under 20. We are going to do that. From your perspective, with what you watched tonight, is it more effort or more scheme?
It's not just effort or scheme. In my opinion, it is the talent. They don't have the talent to defend at a high level consistently night to night. So if you want to have good offense, you're going to have poor defense with this team. You put out a defensive lineup, you're going to have poor offense with this team. They got beat up on the boards 52-35. Like, they couldn't stop anybody in the paint. They gave up 56 paint points. Like, You're not going to win basketball games whenever that occurs. When a team shoots 60% from the field, 48% from three, and they beat you up on the boards, you cannot win that way. It's a roster construction issue. There needs to be a consolidation trade in the offseason. That's my overarching point, is there's just not enough talent on the roster.
Yeah, I thought that there was going to be more. I thought that there'd be more of incremental productivity from Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, and Kyle Anderson, because like Jimmy wasn't playing. So you got three guys to insert into the mix, and you didn't have Jimmy at all. So I thought that that would be, from the Jimmy-less Heat, an infusion of some sort of productivity and talent. And yeah, Wiggins has been steady. He's been what we've expected from him, but he's not Jimmy Butler. No one thinks he should be Jimmy Butler. And this team is definitely as far away as it's been from contending status since before the Jimmy era. So they have to stare that fact in the face. And they got the Celtics up next. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We will have that covered for you. Looking to get Rohan Nadkarni onto the program soon. So teasing that a little bit. We'll hopefully get that locked in by the weekend, if not sooner. And we will have you covered Friday night for Celtics at Heat. That should go well. Thank you, Adele. Thank you to our sponsors. Subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere. Peace.